All right, so really quickly, we are just going to go over all of the fundamentals that you guys need to know, that I think you need to know, that'll help you win more games. Here we go, right in the video. It's going to be quick, it's going to be fast. Keep up, let's go! All right, what's going on, guys? It's your favorite Apex Legends coach, Ninja Cowboy, and we're going to be going through some fundamentals to help all of you guys win, some really basic stuff that you can use to go from bronze, silver, gold into platinum. Once you hit platinum, I think the game changes a little more. You got to play a little smarter. There's some more detailed, deeper skills and basic mechanics that you need to know and understand and use effectively to get out of platinum or through platinum. But I think these fundamentals will help you get there effectively. They'll also help you win more pubs, and these are just some basic things that I think even at the pro level you need to work on. So the first thing, the number one, the biggest thing is your communication. How are you communicating with your team, and how's your team communicating with you? All right, so the number one most important thing that you guys need to know is how to communicate with your team, especially your IGL, or if you're playing IGL, how to call in-game comms effectively without fogging up the comms and giving excess information that is unnecessary and just makes everything more difficult for your teammates to hear as well as execute on. So when we're talking pre-fight or mid-fight comms, you want to call out what damage you're doing and to who, where those people are, and where they're going. That's a really big one, is where they're going. A lot of people just say, I hit her for 20, and it's like, who are you talking about? Where are they? What are they doing? Where are they going? What's the, that doesn't give your IGL any sort of actual information to go off of. The information that's good is, I hit Horizon, 60 purple shield, she's going left into the building on the opposite side of the river. Boom. That is all the information that your team knows. Now, all three of you should be targeting the same person, team shotting, and you should be able to melt that target within the next 1 to 2 seconds as long as they're in the open, or your IGL can take that information and play off of that accordingly. Do we want to rotate around to the right to make sure that we have off-angle fire on that person that you just did a bunch of damage to? Do we want to hold our positions? Do we maybe want to back up or move forward? Whatever the case is, your IGL now has that information. Now, number two plays very heavily on number one. Number two is coordination. These are part of the 3 pillars of the fundamentals of any battle royale game that I've talked about a lot in a lot of other videos, mostly on TikTok. You guys check me out on TikTok. Ninja Cowboy 1000 over on TikTok. Check me out. So, going back to coordination. What is coordination? What type of things should I be focusing on? What type of things should I ignore? Now, coordination is essentially making sure that you, as the member of the team that's not the IGL or that's not shot calling in that specific situation, is listening and effectively taking in the information that's being called out by your in-game leader or by your captain, shot caller, whatever you want to call it, and you're acting off of that effectively and not going rogue and doing some crazy shit on your own that's going to get you killed or put you in a position that you are nowhere near your team to help them if they need help in a situation or whatever the case may be. That is so vital. So many teams at the lower level don't understand that playing together effectively is so much stronger than 3 individual amazing players playing separately. You could be decent but play perfectly as a team and make it to the pro level, as opposed to needing 3 absolute cracked gods that are playing together but not really playing together, if that makes sense. And that's where coordination comes into play. Now, I'm not necessarily saying death ball around the map, like just be in this little circle of 3 people, just running at targets and everyone shooting at stuff and going crazy. Coordination can mean that if that's the type of comp you're running or if that's the type of aggressive playstyle the situation calls for, but that can also mean coordinating off-angle shooting. So if you have your main shooter dead center, he's got a really good angle on a known path, maybe a choke or a building or something like that where known enemy teams are, and then you send your other 2 players to either have one support you on the main angle and one offshoot, or both offshoot, or whatever the case may be. Your IGL will make that determination in the moment, and that way you always have an angle around obvious cover that they're going to be running to. So if there's a box right here in the middle of the choke that you know that they're going to be running to, you send your other shooters off to the left and the right, so that way when they're running up, your main shooter is going to put down the damage, and then your off shooters have that cover, so when they jump behind cover to try and heal, they don't get that healing phase, they don't get that reset, because you have off-angle shooters constantly applying pressure. And at that point, you make the decision to either press forward or hold your position, whatever the case may be. You always want to make sure you secure those kills. Thing number 3, the number one most important thing, positioning. I've said this since I started coaching years ago. Positioning will win you a game by itself. If you have 3 teammates with 2 P2020s apiece, no hammer points and white mags with barely any ammo, you can still win a game, especially in Apex Legends, based off of positioning alone. Positioning will save you so many times more often than just individual gun skill alone will. Individual gun skill can only get you so far, especially when you start excelling to the higher levels of play like Platinum, Diamond, Masters, Predator. Everybody's got great gun skills, so it doesn't really... There's a baseline there of good gun skills. So now you have to find ways to come above that, and the number one way to do that is positioning. If you know how to position yourself properly in the situation that you're in, then you'll almost always be able to come out on top. 9 times out of 10, what does that mean? That means high ground. You always want to be holding the high ground. The reason high ground is so dominant is because not only do you have an overlook on the entire field of battle, but you also have easy cover. Easy cover essentially meaning when you're up above an opponent and your enemy is down here shooting up, all you have to do is back up. Now you have cover. When you're shooting down and you do too much damage to your opponent down on the ground, they have to find physical hard cover. They have to find a building, a rock, a box, something, throw a Gibby shield, whatever it is. They have to create hard cover for themselves, or else they're not going to be able to maintain that fight. Whereas you only have to take a couple steps back, get your shields up, do whatever you got to do, and then you can come forward and begin fighting again. Positioning will absolutely win you games so often, especially this season with ranked being on Kings Canyon. Kings Canyon is the most position-heavy map in Apex Legends. There are ultimate high grounds overseeing huge low ground kill boxes that you just never want to be in if there's a team up on that high ground with snipers or R3s or whatever it is. So just make sure you're aware of your positioning at all times. If you're too stagnant in a position and you don't feel like you're getting any value out of it, move, advance your position, constantly look for ways to take a stronger, better position on the circle, and you're gonna start winning more games, I promise you. Now, another fundamental, this is kind of breaking out of the fundamentals and going more into the more, I would say, mechanical skills, functional skills maybe, is movement. Movement is extremely important, especially when you're playing Apex Legends, the best movement in any FPS game in history. Don't at me, I swear this is the best movement in any game that has ever come out. Sliding, wall jumping, climbing walls, just the jumping in general. You got Octane jump pads, you got Horizon grab lifts, you got zip lines, grapples, wraith portals, all kinds of these awesome movement abilities that you can use to your advantage. But right now what we're going to talk about is fundamental moving. So your sliding, your strafing, your wall jumping, your use of doors, your mantling, all those kinds of different things and ways that you can use them to effectively win your close range 1v1 fights, because that's when movement really comes in handy, is keeping yourself alive in those close range fights, or if you get overwhelmed by a team and you're not ready for it. So the biggest thing that you can do, the easiest thing that you can do, is strafe and crouch spam. What I mean by that, if you don't know what strafing is, if you're on PC, it's essentially just AD, 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 mix it up, maybe A for a little longer, then D, A, D, keep moving back and forth. Make yourself as hard of a target to hit as humanly possible. And if you mix strafing, AD spamming, with crouch spamming, which is essentially just crouch up and down like a freak, then you're going to make yourself that much more of a hard target to hit. Now, I only recommend focusing on strafing and crouch spamming when you're in a close range 1v1 and you don't have too much of an environment around you to work with. So you don't have any rocks or high ground, low ground situations or cliffs or sheds or anything you can really work with, and you're kind of stuck in an open gunfight 1v1. That's when you're gonna start using those crouch spams. You're gonna jump a little bit when you're going side to side, and just make sure that you're staying on target the whole time and you always have an effective idea of where your target is and where they're going. That way you are always in the know and you try and take your teammate off. That's kind of the battle of 1v1s in Apex Legends, is one person trying to throw off the other person while they're trying to throw you off at the same time. Now, when you have cover, things like a box, rock, cliff, whatever it is, you want to make sure you're always using that effectively. Strafe into the box, come back out the one side, then run around to the far side, slide behind it, do whatever you have to do, but use those covers effectively. Don't just use them as something to stand behind. Use them as dynamically as you can possibly think of. If you know how to wall bounce, I'll go over that in a later video when I go into the more detailed mechanics of Apex Legends, but for right now, if you see a box and it's right next to you and you can use it effectively in the fight, go behind it, peek out to the right, take some shots, go back behind, jump over the top, take the high ground on them, and start putting shots down from there. As long as you maintain control of that box position, you always have the advantage over the enemy team or enemy player. So you can always drop back behind the box, but the enemy team can't always run up to the box if you're constantly using it and constantly applying pressure. Now, moving away from movement, the last thing that we want to do is something that I've kind of sideways mentioned throughout this entire video: apply pressure. Apex Legends is fast-paced. It's very, very fast. There's a lot of fast guns that do a lot of damage if you can hit your shots. Now, the easiest way to hit your shots is to be close to the enemy. And the best way to get close to the enemy is apply pressure with your team. Get your team online, find the target that you want to hit, have your IGL call out a target, all three of you apply pressure to that one target. Does that mean run up to him blindly, holding left click, hoping for the best? No, that is not what that means. You're going to get entry damage. Use some of your mid to long range weapons to get some damage on them. Find whatever target has the most damage. All three, your IGL calls out the target with the most damage, and then all three of you start applying pressure. One person hold back a little bit, keep the teammates at bay. Two more wrap around to the right and get angles on that weak guy, get a knock, and then just absolutely swarm them. You want to make sure that no one ever has a chance to breathe. Don't give them a chance to hit a bat. Don't give them a chance to heal up. Don't give them a chance to res or use any abilities that can save them. Get on them and apply pressure. If you can clean up your knock, that's even better. Don't give them a chance to Wraith Portal or jump pad them out. Applying pressure is so effective, especially for newer players at the game. If you start applying pressure on enemy teams early on, like sub-level 10, 20, 30, those enemy players that don't know how to apply pressure properly or handle pressure being applied to them, they're not going to know what to do. They're going to freeze up. They're going to run away. And running away in Apex Legends with your back turned to the enemy team, 9 times out of 10, if that enemy team is solid, you're not going to survive. They are going to kill you. So make yourself the one that's applying the pressure and don't let the other team take the advantage. This has been some fundamentals from your favorite Apex Legends coach, Ninja Cowboy. This will be going up on TikTok, so if you're seeing it on TikTok, drop a like, follow, all that good stuff. If you're seeing it on YouTube, which you most likely are, drop a like, comment down below what you think. Let me know what you want to see next time, and hit that subscribe if you really enjoyed the content. I appreciate you guys. This is your favorite Apex Legends coach, Ninja Cowboy. Peace.